What's good with y'all, man? It's CTZ. And today I'm gonna be putting y'all on the best settings to use in NBA 2K25 this year. These settings will help give you the best advantage to win in every game, from playing online to my team to even offline modes such as my NBA. Now I promise y'all these settings are fire. And speaking of fire, y'all need to tap in with the most fire clothing store that I know, Pregame Vintage. They have all of your clothing needs, from shoes, shirts, jackets, pants, shorts, hats, you name it. You can really walk out of there a brand new man, just like this guy. And on top of that, they just released their website, which is selling out majority of their fire inventory, so don't wait. Make sure you click on the link below and use my promo code CTHEZY to receive a nice discount. Once again, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Pregame Vintage. Copying drip from Pregame is really the best, just like these settings we're about to get into right now. So if you don't know how to navigate to that screen, basically when you get to the home screen of 2K, all you want to do is go to features. And from here, we're going to go over the 3 different types of settings that you need to tweak so that you can have the advantage to win every single game. The first type is just your main regular settings, and I'm only going to go over the ones that are important. I'm not going to waste y'all time. The first thing you want to adjust is the game difficulty. Turn this to Hall of Fame. The reason being is you want to just basically put yourself in uncomfortable situations when it comes to getting used to shooting, because as of right now, day 1 of 2K, a lot of people are struggling with shooting. So if you shoot on Hall of Fame and freestyle, once you hop into a game like Playing Out Online where the difficulty is basically all-star, it'll be much easier. Next thing is the on-court shot clock. I like to have this set to the last 10 seconds. The reason being is if you play with no game sound, and I know some people are like that, they like to play in silence, sometimes you forget that the shot clock is winding down, and this is a nice feature to have because it'll pop up literally like it says in the last 10 seconds of a shot clock. For these next 3 settings right here, action replays and all the camera cuts, this is more of a personal preference thing. I am not a big fan of these things. I just want to play the game without any pausing in the middle of it. And if you're just like me, make sure y'all put these to off or never. And then the last thing in the main settings page is the motion blur. Make sure you turn this to 0 because basically you don't want to have any blur in the game. You don't want to have any distractions. Turn this setting all the way down to 0. We're done with the main settings. Now we're going to dive into the coach settings, and off rip for this first one, adaptive coaching engine. Make sure you guys turn this to off. If you have it to anything besides off, what you're asking for is for the AI, the CPU to make changes for you. And you don't want to have that because you want to be in full control of your team. You don't want to have your team start running different freelances, for example, or just weird stuff that can cause you to throw the game. For the next couple of settings, timeout and substitution to be in particular, you want to have these to manual. Basically the same concept as the adaptive coaching engine. You want to have full control of your team. You don't want to have the AI making substitutions for you, calling timeouts for you. Sometimes, you know, you want to save your timeouts for the end when it matters. And then skipping down to the play vision settings, make sure basically all of these say all or full, because the reason being is if you're like me and you like to run plays or freelances that are constantly moving, these settings turn to all or full will make it so much easier because you can see when the play is initiating and where they're running to and all of that kind of stuff. The next 3, offense play call, defense play calling, and late game fouling. It's the same concept, y'all. Turn these to manual because again, you want to be in full control of your team and not have any random changes switched on you in the middle of the game. Team communication, this is important. You want to set this to defense only at minimum. You can have it for offense as well, but I personally like it just for defense. Reason being is if I'm X switching, I like to know that it applied and that it's set, or sometimes I like to know, you know, who got ball, who's getting back to the basket. Now for the freelance settings, you want to have this set to dynamic because you want them to move and not stand still. And for the series repeat, you want to have it on repeat on success. So that way, if it works, why not keep running it? And lastly, man, shout out to 2K for adding this in last year's 2K. Teammate cut to basket. Make sure you set this to manual because as y'all know, man, sometimes when your teammates are open, the AI will just randomly cut and it'll just throw off the spacing. And sometimes you're expecting to make a pass for a 3, but then they'll cut to the basket in the last second and throw a turnover. So you definitely want to avoid that situation from happening. Turn the setting to manual. Next up is the controller settings now. So for the first 2, turn both of these settings to off. Vibration function and trigger effect. These, if you have these on, your controller is going to throw you off. Sometimes when you shoot, it's going to just have a random vibration, or the trigger effect is even worse. When your players are fatigued, the right stick, or when you're just trying to sprint and move, is going to feel so heavy. You don't want to have any restraint while you're playing this game. Turn both of these off. Now, this is one of the most key important settings of this year's 2K, and this is the shot timing and layup timing profile. I have mine at the moment set to normal risk reward. The reason being is as of right now, currently where 2K is, shooting is pretty difficult. And this is obviously, as y'all can read right here, if I get into it right here in the description, basically it says it's the most similar to the past 2Ks. So if you want a normal green window with a couple whites here and there dropping, this is the best setting. And I highly suggest it at least to start out in 2K. Once you get real real clean at the game and you really nice like that, then you can switch over to high risk reward. This is basically green or miss, and I played a game on this and literally it is what it is. If you don't green it, you're gonna miss the shot. And the next setting is shot timing visual cue. This was a very important setting, especially in last year's 2K. I'm running the same one from last year, which is set point. Basically, when the ball gets put right above their head, right before they start to follow through, that's when you want to release square, or X for Xbox users. Jump is just way too fast and unpredictable because of how many different releases there are in the game. Push is all right, and release, in my opinion, is just way too slow. So you can't go wrong with either set point or push. But again, I would suggest y'all run set points just because you get that release off just a little bit faster. All right, so we skipped down a couple settings. Now we're at icon passing, and this is very important because this is where the Dex Pop comes into play. If y'all want a full tutorial just on the Dex Pop alone, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll drop all that for y'all as soon as I can. But the setting that you want for this is full receiver control. If you have this set to anything but that, you won't be able to Dex Pop off of an icon pass. Following up with that is the receiver control. Have this set to handoff pitch pass. Reason being is if you're stuck, you have a dead dribble, or you just don't want to throw a pass because you feel like it's about to be a turnover, just hold circle for PlayStation, because basically your nearest teammate is going to come save you by getting a handoff pass from you, and it'll avoid any turnover at that given moment. Passive dribble hand switches. This is a new setting that 2K added this year, and I get it, man. They're trying to add new things and make the game different, but honestly, this is an L feature, because what this does is if you have it enabled, your player that you're currently dribbling with, if he's standing still and not moving, he's going to just randomly move the ball from side to side, and you don't want that randomness, because if you're trying to combo and you assume the ball is in, let's say, the right hand, but he does a random crossover to the left hand, now that's just going to throw everything off, and your dribble setup and all that kind of stuff is going to be thrown off. That's going to wrap it up for the controller settings. Now, in the beginning, I know I did say that we're going to go over 3 of the main settings within 2K, and if you stuck around to this far, there's actually a 4th setting that we're going to get into right now, and it's the customized HUD. This is new because last year, all of this customized HUD settings was within the other settings pages, if that makes sense. So this first one right here, the perfect release animations and SFX, this is all just a personal preference. The only thing I would say is put visibility to all shots. Next is the player indicator. Yes, this looks cool, but in my personal opinion, this honestly helps me on defense, because if I'm trying to rotate, play a baited defense, this is an easy way for me to see which player I'm controlling at the given moment. So I like to have this set to on, and I have it on medium, and I just have it set to purple because shout out to my favorite team, man, the Kings. Shot meter shots. So this is definitely important. For visibility for shots, have this set to off. This will turn off your meter for every single jump shot you take from middies to threes, and this will give you that boost just like in every other 2K when you have your meter turned off. Next up is visibility for layups. Turn this setting on and make sure you have it on large for the size. This makes it so much easier if you're trying to time layups around the rim, such as spin layups, euro steps, slow steps, all that kind of good stuff. Arrow worked for me all of last year, and I don't see why it won't work again this year. The last and only other important setting that you need to tap into in this customized HUD is the shot feedback. When you first get the game, it's going to be put to simple, and don't get me wrong, the positive with having it on simple is you'll see if you green it or not right away. But the problem with that is you don't see the feedback for your opponent, so you don't know if your opponent is going to make his shot or if it's going to be a white. So you need to set this to all shots. Trust me, you just want to know, did your opponent green his shot or not? Now for the rest of these, distance, timing, free throw chance, and coverage, the only one that doesn't truly matter is the distance, but you definitely want to have timing, free throw, and coverage set to on, so that way you know how you timed it, if you poorly timed it, if you hit a slightly, and even on your free throw, what was your percentage, and the coverage as well. Was it a lightly, was it a heavily, or was it an open? But all right then, y'all, that is gonna wrap it up for this settings tutorial. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below what y'all want to see in terms of tutorials, gameplays. I'm open to everything, every single suggestion y'all got for me. And if you want to see how my first game in Playing Out Online went this year, make sure you click this top video right here, because I promise y'all Steph Curry is insane in 2K this year.